Okay, guys. So this is the last tier list I'm gonna make before they patch the game. This is my opinion, my tier list after playing the game for 6 months straight before the patch. If you guys want to figure out who to play when they patch the game, because it's gonna be nothing but buffs, this is probably a good place to look. But of course, there's gonna be other changes to consider. But obviously, I think the characters that are really strong might stay strong. Clearly, top 3 in the game is the following: Striker, Hitman, Dragon Knight. I think this is the top 3 in this order. With Arc Revo Japan ending, and with the past couple of months, you know, I used to say Striker was top 3, like here, number 3, but now, after seeing more of what like Nanpon is doing, after seeing how oppressive she is, how much I play the character, and how much I've done well with the character, especially with the fact that her dive kick is so oppressive too. Only having 7 frames of landing recovery is insane. She's very good at what she does. She has very great tools, and her pressure is probably some of the best pressure in the game, because she can rebeat. The only fault with Striker is her anti-airs kind of are poor, but aside from that, she has like one of the fastest buttons in the game to challenge with 5A. Her damage output is probably some of the highest in the game off of dive kick, which is a very oppressive tool in the neutral, and 6 MS invalidates a lot of projectiles in the game. It makes it so that way the way you have to approach Striker is very cautious. And plus, you also can't put her in Awakening as of this patch, because if you do, then she's gonna guard break you. I think she's probably the best in the game. Hitman and Dragon Knight are also probably on the cusp of being almost the same spot as Striker. They're a little bit like vying for the top spot, but I think Hitman is closer than Dragon Knight. Hitman is very simple to play, and his reward is very high. The DP Awakening situation makes it so that way it's very, very difficult to really kill this character. You have to kind of like adjust your combos in order to make sure that he doesn't enter Awakening, so that the next combo you do kills him. Coupled with his really strong buttons, his easy mix-up with instant overhead rising JB, and his 3-hitting overhead with JA, and his ability to just confirm from a lot of situations. Like, it's honestly very strong. It's not hard to hold up, hit B, and then do JS after. It's really not. Both Striker and Hitman got nerfed in the recent patch before this new one that's coming. Hitman can't do DP into Shattering Strike as a true block string. You can roll it and then punish him. Some characters actually punish him in between it with their own DP, etc. But if he has Gray Life, then he could cancel the Shattering Strike, and then that creates a mind game. Striker can't guard break you with DP into Air MS, but she has other ways to guard break you with her Awakening instead, because she has 200 mana. So they have ways of kind of circumventing their nerfs, but they're not like high circumventing. Like they don't circumvent the nerfs that much, and their character toolkits are very strong regardless. I think Hitman is probably the easiest character to play in the game, and is also the most rewarding. Dragon Knight is a little more technical. Dragon Knight probably has some of the highest damage output in the game next to Striker, because her Astra combos in the corner are unscaled. JS, a really strong normal, just like Striker's JS. Like, Striker's dive kick and Dragon Knight's fireball are pretty much the same in application. It's extremely toxic. She could throw up to 3 of them too if she has conversion and she does air flight. Her mix-ups in the corner and off of knockdown are probably also some of the best in the game, because she can do double overhead. She can also use the Astra to combo off of throw. She has so many ways to like mix up and freestyle you too. Even if she drops a combo, it's still kind of a mix-up, right? Like, that's how strong and potent Dragon Knight is. And she also has one of the better Awakenings in the game. Her mana regen rate is OD. Like, it builds too much meter back too fast. She also has an 8-frame stand medium that anti-airs you and advances her forward, goes really far, and it's really fast. And she gets her most damaging combos from that normal. I think the only issue with the character, obviously, is the high mana cost before Awakening. And a lot of her approaches can be almost very linear in a way. Aside from that, like, Dragon Knight is probably number 3 in the game. I at first had Dragon Knight as the best character in the game, but I really do think it's probably Striker now. So, I mean, that rounds off about S tier. These 3 are in a tier of of their own, basically. Everybody else underneath them is different. I think Ranger is definitely part of the top 5. I don't care what anybody says. The fact that every time he has the ability to guard break you from Gunhawk is insane. The grenade, the ability to pin you down. And I think the only issue, obviously, is that he doesn't really have that. Like, he doesn't really, like, pressure you. He's more of like a zoner, and his conversions are not bad, and they're decent damage, but he doesn't do as much damage as the other characters on the cast. What he really is solid in, playing the zoning game, right? Like zoning you out, and then from his zoning converting into decent damage, into grenade Oki, that leads into guard break. I think Kunoichi is also up here for top 5. Definitely underrated. The fact that any hit she lands can also lead into like 50-60%. Into a double overhead, a low, things like that. Like, that's very scary. She also has some of the better special moves in the game, like Toad. Toad does a lot of block stun and hit stun, and the opponent has to worry about that, along with her other tools that make her annoying, such as her kunais and her jump MS. Her ability of altering her jump arc through her double jump is very scary. And then of course she has a teleport that she could use along with her jump fireball. She could drift basically after she teleports. Of course, she also has a tornado, which can be used for mix-ups or in combos. The tornado itself is unscaled. Kunoichi is very hard to pin down. She's kind of like the Chip Xanath of this game. If you guys play Guilty Gear Strive, she's very, very annoying to pin down. And when she touches you for making a mistake, it does hurt, and you get put into a very scary situation. She, like Dragon Knight, is also one of the few characters. Her, Dragon Knight, and Ranger are like the only 3 characters in the game, if I'm correct, that can combo after their grab. There's other characters that could probably combo off of their grab too, I think. Berserker and Troubleshooter are the only other 2 that could kind of combo off their grab. It's mostly Berserker, right? Troubleshooter is more situational because of the mine. It's too much recovery, but it's really Berserker. Berserker can definitely combo off of his grab because he has his command grab in the super. But the main 3 characters that could do it effectively are Dragon Knight, Kunoichi, and Ranger. Inquisitor and Launcher can do it situationally as well, but I'd say the 3 that can do it consistently are Dragon Knight, Kunoichi, and Ranger. The only problem with Kunoichi, her awakening is a bit on the lower side. Like, her MS moves get enhanced, but really and truthfully, like, she doesn't really need it. It's just the fact that when she touches you, she does a lot of like, and she puts you into really absurd mix-ups with double overhead, just like Dragon Knight, or fake high into a low. She gets like air resets, etc. Like, it's crazy. I think right after this, it's probably a toss-up between Berserker and Swiftmaster. You could probably interchange these 2. Berserker is a very annoying character because he has the ability to guard break you, just like the other characters mentioned prior. Kunoichi has a guard break that she could do as well, that's gapless. Same with Ranger, same with Hitman and Striker. Except Hitman doesn't really like have a gapless block string. It's more that he does a lot of guard bar damage. Berserker, however, has guard break setups. They do have gaps, but because he could cancel into Frenzy and Conversion, it makes it very risky to try and guard cancel him. You have to choose where to guard cancel him, which is generally where he does his 4S. But because he could choose to do it, you have to really consider how much guard bar you have before fighting this character in this current patch. He is one of the only characters that can put himself into Awakening next to Troubleshooter. By the way, his Frenzy buffs him. It gives him faster movement speed. It increases the amount of hits most of his normals do in Frenzy, and it allows for him to gain Gray Life, which he can use for conversion in order to extend combos, which can lead to like 90% combos if possible, 80-90% combos, and it's ridiculous. I think his 5B, his 5MS to exit Frenzy is insane. This character is wild. The only issue again with Berserker is that you have to manage his health. If you fuck up, he's dead. Like, if you're gonna use a lot of your life to do a lot of damage, you have to understand that you're bringing the game down to a one hit situation. Like, next hit kills for both players. And that's the only thing with Berserker that's the fault, is that you really have to learn how to manage your health. Aside from that though, he's a very oppressive character. Some people argue that Berserker could potentially be top 5. Swiftmaster is also the same here. He would be top 5 only if he had the same things he had previous patch. Even if you had the mana restrictions, I think the biggest thing that was very oppressive about Swiftmaster was swords. The Gucci belt, the wind belt. That move basically is equivalent to Yu-Gi-Oh's Mystic Mine, where it literally stalls the game. No one can approach each other. And when they nerfed that, it made it so that way Swiftmaster has to be more conscientious of how he plays defensively in the neutral, because a lot of what he's doing is with tap punch. So the tap punch is where he gets his most of his damage output, and it's what the opponent has to deal with, especially because it's plus on block, and then on hit he gets like a 50% combo. The mana regen rate is the biggest thing that nerfed Swiftmaster as well, in terms of both damage across the board from his lights and also from his setups, because now he can't just like immediately like have a strong setup if he started off of a light. The thing about Swiftmaster is you have to manage his meter more. He has a slower regen rate, a lot of his moves cost a little more mana, and his damage output has decreased from his lights, unlike other characters. Plus, the fact that when he plays lane, he can no longer use summon swords. He has to actually like use tap instead and try to be solid from that is a big factor. And he doesn't really have a very strong mix-up, right? He kind of just plays strike throw, but he has very good normals with 5B, 2A, and 6S. So, honestly, I think Swiftmaster is only really good in the sense of his overall toolkit being at least solid. The other thing too is that he has the lowest health in the game. He's tied for the lowest health next to Enchantress and Inquisitor. Then we got Troubleshooter, who I think is better than Swiftmaster as well. One of the higher health values in the game. Damage output's really good. He could actually TOD you if he has conversion and uses 4S. He could put himself in conversion just like Berserker, and he could kill 900 health characters and 950 health characters very easily. The thing about Troubleshooter is just he really is just jump S, far S, all of his other buttons, while they're decent buttons, like 2Bs are really good low, that goes a decent range. It's not like Hitman. He also has a really good JB. His JB is really good. It's not Dragon Knight's JB, but it's also not a bad JB in the sense that it can hit below him as well. He also has a really good Awakening, surprisingly, where it buffs the range on all of his special moves, on his MS moves, which allow him to extend his combos even further. And his DP is pretty good. Most characters can't really punish it in Awakening because it pushes them back really far. There's only a few characters that can. Striker being one of them. He's not really like super oppressive, and his mix-up isn't that great. He doesn't have a strong mix-up like some of the other characters like Kunoichi or Hitman or Dragon Knight, Striker, Berserker. Like he's not like those other characters. He just hits you straight up. Ghostblade's another one. I would probably put Ghostblade around here as well. I think Ghostblade is also a very solid character, but I probably would put him below Swiftmaster, honestly. You could argue between these two placements here, between Swiftmaster and Ghostblade, but I think the thing about Ghostblade is that he doesn't have a reversal. That's the only issue. He doesn't really have a true reversal, but what he makes up for that, for his poor defense, is like his ability to move across the screen with the teleport and his really strong buttons with like 5B and 2A and jump A and jump B, right? Some of those buttons are really hard to kind of like contest within the neutral, within the mid-range. It makes him a very strong mid-range character, and couple that with the Ghost, I think it creates very strong situations for Ghostblade to corner carry, get good damage. Like he could do 50% on you if he lands a 5MS. Also in the corner, he has really good set play with his Ghost, with his JMS, and he could even set up guard break scenarios against most characters. I think Ghostblade is a very solid character too, just like Troubleshooter, but the only difference is that he lacks a reversal. And in this game, I really do think that having a reversal in this game matters. Like if you don't have a reversal, it's pretty bad. Like it's really bad in this game. I probably would put Grappler around B tier. Grappler shits out a lot of damage. Like if he's next to you, he's going to kill you. Like he's going to kill you. That's all I have to tell you about that. He's going to kill you if he's next to you. If he lands a JS or if he lands a command grab that he could combo with, he's going to kill you. If he lands the armor tackle, he's also going to kill you if he lands it on counter hit. If he lands 5MS, he's going to kill you as well if he has conversion. The only issue with this is that he has to throw himself at you in order to play neutral, because his main neutral tools, which are his buttons, suck ass. He only really has 5B, 2B, and that's it, right? He doesn't really have like any other ways of easily poking in the neutral very well outside of using his specials, and his specials are very committal. Some of the armored specials, like his tackle, for instance, get blown up by lows. And he also doesn't have a reversal. He has a counter which can be blown up by meeting it with a low. So in general, the character is pretty bad. Couple that with his awakening is probably one of the worst in the game, where he takes less chip damage, which really doesn't matter, and you probably would want to take more chip damage considering white life is very valuable in this game. Crusader really fell off. A lot of people thought this character was cheap in the beginning, but people have now figured out how to play against Crusader very well. He's also one of the few characters with a tall hurt box, like Hitman and Lost Warrior and Vanguard. But unlike Hitman, Crusader kind of suffers a little bit more with that because he doesn't really have a reversal, right? He doesn't have any reversal that is easily capable of him avoiding those situations. He has an armored reversal, which you can throw. So there's that. He also has a counter, but the counter loses to lows as well. So generally speaking, his defensive options are not the best, and he doesn't have a very fast normal that he can abare with. What his primary game plan is he tries to hit confirm and go into wall. His wall is probably his best special move next to the Justice Spear. Those two things are the main things that like allow him to get started, but generally speaking, he's zoning you. But if you were to play a zoner, I would just tell you to play Ranger. Right? Ranger is just a better zoner overall as opposed to Crusader. He's actually got the highest health value at the game at 1100. He takes less damage in Awakening. I just think that in general, Crusader suffers a lot with characters that can easily bypass his zoning and get around some of his options. And when you roll some of his normals like 5A or his 6S, you know, when you roll those normals, or 5S even, like all those buttons end up getting fucked, you know, like all those buttons get fucked by roll, which means he's in a lot of recovery and you can punish him. Inquisitor is probably another character that I don't understand why she has 850 health. She's very squishy for what she is, but for what it's worth, she does have two very strong special moves with 5 MS being the Molotov throw and jump MS, which is a giant like axe swing that she spins around with, and it's very hard to contest those two tools for most characters. And she gets really good conversion and corner carry from both of those situations. Main issue with her, like I said, is her squishy health, and she has a very subpar version of Dragon Knight's Awakening, where Dragon Knight, she gets a higher mana regen. Inquisitor spends less mana for doing easy inputs. So it's not really as great as Dragon Knight. Enchantress, Inquisitor, and Swiftmaster are tied for the lowest health in the game in this current patch. And Enchantress is probably on the weaker end, right? I do think she's a little worse off because unlike Inquisitor, Enchantress kind of has to work a little bit harder. She can't really zone a lot of the characters very easily, unlike the other characters like Ranger and Crusader. And a lot of her situations come up from using her doll, right? When she command grabs you, that's probably her win con, and it's very hard for her to get to that win con because of how slow the command grab is. Her damage output mid-screen isn't the best. She only gets really strong corner damage in comparison. But she does get good corner carry with her vines, which I think is 2S if I'm correct. And that corner carry is insane when you use it with conversion, along with using the mini Faust, the little doll that runs across the ground. Those two things make it so that way she can control space a little bit easier, but ultimately she's not going to be zoning forever in a game like this, and she kind of has to try to get you to the corner to force a situation. And she also has a really bad Awakening. She does have a reversal, but her reversal is very interesting in that the DP will hit anywhere the bear is on screen, but the issue is it's too slow. So if you were to try to use it as a get off me tool, some characters will straight up just meaty jab her, and then her DP just doesn't work. She has the potential to be a A tier character, but all these things kind of limit her. Then you have the worst characters in the game, in my honest opinion. Vanguard, Lost Warrior, and Launcher are the three worst characters in the game, with Launcher being the absolute worst. Vanguard is pretty much no mix. He has no mix-up. All he is neutral. He hits you in the neutral, and if he's correct, he does half life, carries you to the corner, and then plays strike throw. But his strike throw game is very bad. Like, he has no real mix-up on you. His armor move at the moment only is accessible after 5 MS. He has to do 4 MS, I think, after, and that's how he can make guard cancel, which his main tool is to kind of guard break you by damaging your guard bar through his normals and playing very turtley. But the issue is that in Awakening, While it buffs his guard bar damage, like it lets him attack the guard bar better, the issue is that he still doesn't guard break you. He doesn't have enough ways to guard break you, unlike the other characters listed before. All these other characters you see here, Ranger, Kunoichi, Berserker, Dragon Knight, Hitman, Striker, Swiftmaster in some cases, they all can guard break you fairly easily. Even Inquisitor. So Vanguard having trouble with that is very, very bad. And also his DP is probably one of the worst in the game. While it's good as an anti-air and kind of like a pseudo wake up, if the opponent does a guard cancel aggressively on you, or if you try to bait their guard cancel and you try to DP them, your DP is going to whiff because the 2S goes underneath his DP, and his DP whiffs on crouchers. Couple that with the fact that you can literally like meaty him with a low, it's unfortunate because he's supposed to be the character that guard breaks you in a game that's centralized around managing the guard bar meter, but all the other characters does his job way better. Lost Warrior is another really sad case of like, we don't want to nerf this character, but we don't want to buff this character either. He's kind of like the character you don't want to adjust too much, because if you do, he'll be toxic. The character is the only one in the game that really forces you to use the guard button, because he has the ability to teleport and swap sides. He has cross-ups that go like half screen, and you need to use the guard button because you can't easily react to it. Couple that with the fact that he can use some of his projectiles to kind of zone you and potentially pick you up. He has a hit scan move that he could use to pick you up as well. And you have to be careful for that, because if you run forward, you cannot immediately block after you run forward. You must use the guard button to block immediately after. Against Lost Warrior, if you don't do that, he will scoop you up with the hit grab and he can do 50% on you. That's like the only thing that's good about Lost Warrior, is that his damage output, like Vanguard, is better. He probably has some of the highest damage output in the game for a very easy confirm. But the issue is that his neutral is dog awful, bro. Like it's just not good. He's just not good. His neutral, because his buttons aren't like the best, his movement's not the best, and the fact that he also has a tall hurt box like Vanguard, both of these characters suffer on defense. He doesn't have a reversal, he only has a counter. He's just not very strong overall. Like, the only thing that makes him strong is, again, the fact that if he touches you, he's going to do half-life. That's it. And he's very mana hungry. A lot of his moves are too expensive. Launcher is probably the worst character in the game. She's also the most popular character in the game. Everybody that picked up a DNF really wanted to play Launcher, right? But, you know, unfortunately, she was not very good, and a lot of people left the game because of that. I think that's where a lot of the casuals left the game. They saw Launcher, they were like, Dommy Mommy, even though I don't see it because she looks like Johnny 2x4, and she looks like a plank. She has no meat. But in general, like, you know, she's bad, right? All she is 5A. That's all she is. Her 5A is what she is as a character. She has no mid-screen confirm that she has in this patch. She has no ability to really tack on damage on you unless she's in the corner with you. And she has to still land a hit. Her defensive options, she has a reversal, but it goes nowhere. She has probably one of the worst guard cancels in the game. And she has a 10 frame 2A. She has no 9 frame or faster button that she could abare with. She really just suffers on defense, and she suffers on offense too. She doesn't really have a mix-up that she could really do to you. She just relies on chipping you out and building up your white life, which I mentioned is something that you actually want in this game. You want white life to cancel it in a conversion and make your neutral safer, or potentially even convert into big damage. The fact that you can recover your white life means that the chip damage she does to you is whack. And again, like I said, with her mid-screen damage being dog water, like, she really just sucks ass. The only two tools that's really good on her is the 5MS, which is the giant fireball, because it vacuums you in, and her 5A. That's it. Her 5A and her 5MS are the only two good things about her. The nuke would be good, but she doesn't really have really strong ways of setting it up. She can combo after her grab with the nuke, but because there's too much recovery, what will happen is sometimes you could avoid the nuke and her throwing you in general. So it's just not, she's just not good. She's very bad. And I think she's going to benefit the most from the changes that they're going to have later on this month. This is my final tier list. I honestly think with the new patch coming, they're buffing everyone. But the main things to look out for is the fact that the health and guard bar increase will probably move some of these higher characters lower on the totem pole. Because guard bar will be higher, health will be higher, characters will live longer. The other thing too is that they're buffing rolls and they're buffing guard cancel. Depending on how they're going to buff the defensive options in this game, it's going to mean that there may be ways to get out of situations that you couldn't do before. And then of course, there's also the other changes per character that we saw. And in one of the videos that we saw, Launcher even has a mid-screen combo now. So that's something that will increase her damage output where she didn't have before. Coupled with the fact that a lot of characters are going to get a 2S that will be jump cancelable. We saw that with Enchantress, with Launcher. This is going to mean that there will be more routes for better damage and more combo variety. So all these changes will shift up how the meta is played, while also not really nerfing a lot of the characters in the cast for what they mainly do, which is kind of cool. But I'm only scared that the buffs will maybe exacerbate some of the stronger characters in the cast. We'll have to see, right? We'll have to see. I think the fact that they're buffing health and guard bar to make it higher value might change things despite everything being buffed. So yeah, if you guys like this video, let me know in the comments down below. Who are you looking forward to playing when DNF gets its new patch? We still have to wait on Spectre. She's going to come next year. But who are you trying to play? Are you going to come back to play the game now since everybody was asking for a patch from what I heard? We'll see. Subscribe. Do all the funny stuff. Please comment down below. Give me a like. Let people know that this game is alive. Let the algorithm push this video forward by liking and commenting so that way we can all see that DNF is trying its best to come back. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.